Hello, beautiful, amazing people. Welcome back to my channel. How are we? We're doing good. I cannot believe that it is February already. It's February already, and I'm about to do my January reading wrap up. My January wrap up. How the hell did that happen so quickly? I have absolutely no idea. But you know what? Let's go through it. I had an absolutely amazing reading month this month. I read 20 books. 20 books and I don't know how. I have absolutely no recollection. I feel like I just blinked and the month was over and I read 20 books. Now, I read some amazing books and I'm so excited to share them with you guys. But you know what? I read most of them physically. I own all of these books, and that is amazing for me because this year I really wanted to read more of my physical TBR. So I'm so happy. So let's get into it. I think you guys should sit down. This is going to be a long one. This year I started using a journal, a reading journal, and I'm so excited. So I have all of my books here and I've got all of my notes, everything that I thought about them on here. So I thought that this would be such a good way to go through it. I got this reading journal off Etsy and there are heaps on Etsy if you wanted to have a look. They're so cute, they're so fun, and it's actually really relaxing to fill in the books once you finish them. So the first book that I read was Frayed by Laura Pavlov. Now I actually finished this on the 1st of January. I'm doing these all in order for you guys because I have the order here with me. So this is the first book in the Willow Springs series by Laura Pavlov. It is small town, childhood friends to lovers. It's like kind of a YA romance in a sense, like it's like very young, coming of age. And I really enjoyed it. I actually gave this one 5 stars. 5 stars. It was so good. It was such a good way to start the year off. It was my first 5-star of the year, which is crazy. And it is bad boy football star, innocent girl next door, 2 different worlds. When Addie's high school sweetheart cheats on her, she finds solace in the one boy she never thought, Jetstone. Now she struggles in doing what everyone expects her and what she really wants. I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was so good. It's a really good small town romance and I think it's just so cute. It's such a good way to start off the series. Now the series follows this group of friends. So you've got Addie's group of friends and then all of the books pretty much are her friend group, and it's so good. I absolutely loved it and I do highly recommend this one. The next book that I read in January was Tangled, which is the next book in the series. So this is book 2 and it is small town, bad boy, brother's best friend, grumpy sunshine, college romance. It is so good. I absolutely ate this one up. This is probably my favorite in the series. I absolutely loved it. It follows Gray, who is an arrogant frat boy tasked with looking after his best friend's little sister in her first year of college. Gigi is the angelic small town girl moving away from her family and all expectations. Gigi has known Gray her entire life until one day she finds her attraction is double-sided. Gray is determined to push her away and salvage his relationship with his best friend, but for how long will that last? Oh my god. Oh my god, Gray. He really won this over for me. I absolutely love this book. I just love a small town romance, and these books are really small. They're really small. They're very easy to get through, and I just love Laura Pavlov's writing. I absolutely love her writing. It is so bingeable, so easy to read, and I absolutely loved this. The next book that I read was June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. This book, oh my gosh, you feel all the emotions, you feel everything. I was just distraught the entire time. I was just emotionally damaged. I cried maybe halfway through, and it's such a good book. Yes, it's long, but you know what? It's so worth it. Jennifer Hartman, this is the first book of hers that I've read, and I have so many of them, and let me tell you, I will be reading more of them. So the tropes are emotional damage, adopted sister, coming of age, forbidden love, and found family. So it follows Bant. When Bant was 6 years old, he lived through his first life tragedy, which found him being adopted by his best friends and neighbors' family. He clawed his way out of one tragedy and fell into the arms of the one person he shouldn't love, June. You follow Bant growing up and living through tragedy after tragedy while fighting his feelings for the one person he calls home. So this book, you have 3 tragedies. It's split up into 3. So there's 3 tragedies, and oh my God, each one is as bad as the last. Each one is as bad as the last. I really, if you read this book, Tragedy 2 ruined me, like ruined me, and I don't think I'll ever recover. But I really, really think you guys should read this. I absolutely loved it. I gave this one 5 stars as well. 5 stars as well. So I've had 3 5-star books already, which is crazy. Such a good reading month so far. The next book is Charmed. Charmed by Laura Pavlov. This is the 3rd book in the Willow Springs series. I obviously took a little break from the Willow Springs series, but I'm back. This book, it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but it was still really good. I gave this one 4 stars. 4 stars. It is small town enemies to lovers, family rivalry, workplace romance, and forced proximity. It follows Crew and Maura. So Crew is enemy number 1, but also happens to be Maura's new boss at her internship. Crew despises Maura and her entire family. Their families have been rivals since before Maura was even born. But it seems everything isn't as Maura thought. Secrets are unraveled and feelings begin to develop when her internship seems to become more permanent. Will they be able to cast their family's rivalry behind them and open their hearts to each other? Oh my God, so good, so good. I really love this one. Look, I'm trying to rate them in my head. I don't know, it's probably my least favorite in the series. Least favorite, but it was still 4 stars. So you have to know that even though it's my least favorite, it's still really good. It's still really good, and I ate it up, and I think I read it in a day. It was so easy. Again, so bingeable, and I absolutely loved it. Next book that I read was Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I'll pop it up here. I read this as an ARC. It is not available until the 5th of March, I believe, but you guys know that I absolutely love Done and Dusted. Done and Dusted is my favorite book ever. Ever, and no one will ever be able to take that title, but this book really came close. It really came close. I fucking loved it. I loved it. 5 stars, and I owe Lila everything. She writes such a good book. She just really knows how to get me. It is Cowboy, Small Town, Reverse Grumpy Sunshine, Forced Proximity, Love at First Sight, and Workplace Romance. It follows Wes Ryder, who is a golden retriever cowboy that is trying to prove himself to his family by undergoing a massive renovation on Rebel Blue Ranch. It's one night he meets Ada Hart. Ada, an interior designer on his project, had just arrived in Meadowlark, and she finds herself in a steamy exchange with a hot cowboy, only to find out he is her new boss. Will this ruin their entire career when the truth comes out? This book was so good. So good. It was written perfectly. And you know what I loved the most about the book is the mental health rep. And Lila does really good mental health rep, and I absolutely loved it. I really could relate to both characters. I could relate to both of them separately and together, and I just really wanted everything to work out, and just going through the motions, going through their struggles. I really enjoyed it by the end of it, and I think you guys should read it. It comes out March 5th. Mark it in your diary, please. It was so good, and I'm so excited for the rest of you guys to read it because it was honestly so worth it. And you know what? Yes, I'm Lila Sage's biggest fangirl, but there's a reason for it. Swift and Saddled was my only Kindle read that I don't have a physical copy of. So the rest of them I all have physical copies, and the next one is Sealed by Laura Pavlov. So this is number 4 in the Willow Springs series, and this one is also really good. I rated it 4 stars. It's probably my second least favorite. It follows, so what it is it's small town, single dad, fake dating, and hothead FMC. So what it is it's small town, single dad, fake dating, and hot-headed FMC. Roman is perfect on paper. Sexy, broody, arrogant. He's a divorced single father and completely off limits. Coco has no intention to date but needs a date to her stuck-up sister's wedding. And Roman wants a chance of getting an interview at the magazine company that Coco works at to help his new business. What could go wrong? One weekend together, will their minds change? Will their minds change? Will they? This was so good. I really enjoyed it. I really like Single Dad. I really do. It's a really good trope, and I don't think I read one that I really didn't like yet. This series, like I said, it's really good. It's really easy to read. It's a really good small town romance, and I think it's one of her earlier on series because not a lot of people have read them or talked about them from what I know. But yes, so that is sealed. Next book I read was Claimed. So Claimed is the last book in the Willow Spring series. I really just binge read the entire series. I'm telling you that now. This one is my second favorite. My second favorite in the series. I fucking loved this book. It was so good. It was written so well. And you know what? I don't necessarily love second chance romances, but really this just did it for me. It was so good. We have small town, second chance, country music star, enemies to lovers. So Ty Green is the only boy that Ivy's ever loved. They were high school sweethearts until one day Ty packed up his life and moved across the country with his mother and sister to get away from his cheating father. Ivy was absolutely heartbroken and never wanted to see him again. That is until Ty returned to Willow Springs, years later for his sister's wedding. The only difference is he's now a country music star. Will they be able to repair their relationship? Can Ivy forgive Ty for breaking her heart? Oh my god, so good. I have only read one other country music star book, and this just really, like, this was just as good, and I absolutely loved it. It was 5 stars. I absolutely ate it up. Guys, read this series. It's so good. I really do. I recommend it. What I loved most about that series is that you get little crumbs from all the other characters in the books earlier, because it is an interconnected standalone series and it's the whole group of friends, and in all of the books all of the girls get together and they talk, and they're such a close-knit group of friends even though they all live in separate areas, and you follow them from when they're teenagers in the first book to then them growing up and developing as friendships and developing as long distance friendships, and then by the end of it they are all grown up, and it's really good, and I absolutely loved watching the development of all of the characters throughout the entire series. So we're moving out of small town romances and moving into emotional damage books. So this month in my Discord, we decided to do emotional damage month, and I read some really good emotional damage books. So the next couple of ones are emotional damage, but they are really worth it and I loved them. This book that I read was none other than Magnolia Park's Long Way Home. I had no idea that this book was going to fucking destroy me. I had no idea that I was going to be sobbing in the first half of it. I absolutely love this story. I love these characters. I know I'm the only BJ stan on the entire planet, but I will do anything for that man. I'll do anything for that man. I think it's written so well, and I really love this book. It was 5 stars. The end is such a cliffy, and I cannot wait to read the next Magnolia Parks book. So 5 stars, and it is miscommunication, emotional damage, London socialites, and toxicity. It's all the things that all of the other books in the series have been. So if you've made it so far to this book, you'll love the rest of the series. I love it. I cannot. It's so good. The summary of it is it's almost a year since everything happened with Magnolia and BJ. Magnolia has a life now in New York and BJ seems to have moved on. But when they both wind up back in London at the same time, at the same place, what will happen? How many loves do you have in a lifetime? Are Maggie and BJ able to find their way back to each other, or is it over forever? This book. I can't tell you much without spoiling the first book, so I'm only going to tell you that, and I'm only going to keep it at that. But if you've read it, then you know what I'm talking about. There are 2 moments in this book where I was sobbing uncontrollably. And Jessa Hastings, I don't know what she puts in these books, but they are so good, and I cannot wait to read the rest of them. I am so excited. Next book that I read was Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I had this on my bookshelf for so long, and I've heard so many good things about it, but I was like, oh, I'll read it when I'll get to it. It's fine, I'll get to it. But you know what? This year I'm reading my physical TBR, and I'm reading books that I really want to read, so Say You Swear was next. I gave this book 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. I don't know why I didn't give it 5 stars now, just thinking about it. I think maybe there was something in there that I didn't like that I can't remember, but 4 stars at the time, so I'm sticking with 4 stars. Essentially, it is a sports romance, college romance, soulmates, brother's best friend, and emotional damage. I love this book. So it follows, it's also kind of love triangle in a sense too. It's also, yeah, it's kind of love triangle in a sense as well. So, summary. They say first loves last forever. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. We spent the summer at my family's beach house before heading off to college until my brother's best friend shattered my heart. Until I met Noah Riley, and he slowly picked up the broken pieces of my heart and put me back together. All I have to say about this book is Noah Riley. That's all I have to say. He pulled this book through. He did everything in this book that he should have done, and he did it perfectly. Megan Brandy wrote him amazingly. He is just one of my top favorite book boyfriends. I can't say too much without spoiling it because there is a plot twist sort of at 50%-ish, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but how he handles adversity and troubling times is unreal. It's unreal. He loves her with his whole fucking heart, his whole soul. And I can't. Seeing the whole relationship, seeing the characters developing from the start, seeing all of the different troubles and how they find their way together and they continue to find their way together is immaculate. It is immaculate, and I loved this book, and I think you should read it. If you haven't, I really think you should. And you know what? You're going to be a little bit emotionally damaged. You're probably going to cry. I cried, but you know what? It was so worth it. Such a good book, and I don't know why I didn't give it 5 stars. I really don't. But you know what? I said 4 stars, so I'm going with 4. This book that I read in January was The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. This was our buddy read in my Discord, and I still can't talk about it. This book is emotional damage to the maximum. This whole book is fucking sad. It's so sad. And don't read it if you don't want to cry yourself to sleep for like at least 48 hours after finishing it. I cannot believe this book, and I'm like, Rebecca, how did you do this? Like, how did you do this, and why? Like, who did this to you? Like, who hurt you in order to write something like this? Like, this is travesty after travesty, and you think it's going to get better, and it just keeps getting worse. Like, it just keeps getting worse. Anyways, please check the triggers on this. Please check the triggers, because this can be quite a triggering book, just saying. So it's brother's best friend, military, emotional damage, trauma, and marriage of convenience. So the summary is this book follows a single mum of twins who starts writing to her brother's best friend who's serving in the army. Her daughter is diagnosed with cancer, and she experiences tragedy after tragedy until her pen pal comes to take care of her when everything changes. This book is filled with endless tragedies. That's all I could write about this without spoiling the absolute crap out of it. There are so many things in this small book that broke my heart. So many things. I felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest, thrown on the floor, shattered into pieces, and then lit on fire. Like, I still can't talk about it. It's so sad. It's so sad, but it is so good. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I gave it 4 stars is because I felt like the center of the book was lacking, and everything sort of happened towards the end. I remember why I only gave it 4 stars, and that's why. Because I really found myself pulling, like I was having to force myself to read in the middle of it, and then everything happened at the end, and it just... it was insane, but it was still a really good book, and I do highly recommend it. Okay, we're halfway through. So this is your halfway warning. You can get up and stretch. You can go get yourself a drink. You can go to the toilet, because we've got 10 more books to go. We've got 10 more whole books to go. The next 3 books I read were Chloe Welsh's Broken series. So I've got Break My Fall, Fall to Pieces, and Fall on Me. There are 4 books in this series, and I'll explain to you why I've only read 3. So I'm going to sort of review them together in a sense, like I'm going to explain to you, they're all following the same couple. So they follow the same couple, so the tropes are similar, plot of it is very similar, and if I tell you the plot of these two, it'll spoil the other books. So I'm just going to go through and give you a general overview of the couple and the series. So to summarize, Lee finds herself running from home and she has no place to go until she reaches out to her long-term friend and finds a new place to live. The only thing is, his house comes with a brooding, arrogant man, Kyle. Desperation led her to his house, but lust led her into his bed. They both have too much baggage and trauma. Will they overcome all the obstacles put in their way? So let's talk about it. Let's discuss. This book, what did I give this one? I gave it 3 stars. I really didn't like it. I felt like the miscommunication trope was just really repetitive. Like, I feel like if miscommunication is done in the right way, then it's worth it. It's so good. It's so worth it. But I felt like this was so super repetitive and it was really just giving me the ick. Like, Kyle was giving me the ick and Lee was annoying me. That's essentially what I was feeling in the first book. But it ended on a cliffy. So I had to pick up the second book. The second book, Fall to Pieces, I gave 4 stars. 4 stars, because it was a lot better. It was a lot better, but it was a very small book. And again, we left it on a cliffy. So I kept reading. I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep reading. I really don't mind the characters now as much. Like, I'm getting used to them. I'm getting used to it. Maybe I'll just continue, right? So 4 stars for that one. And then Fall on Me. Fall on Me was terrible. Sorry. I gave it 2.5 stars. I really had to push myself to read this. I really had to push myself to read it. And you know what? A lot of people do like this series, and I love Chloe Walsh. So I'm not dissing her. I'm not dissing anyone. Like, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I really couldn't deal. And I said to myself halfway through the book, you just need to finish it. And then when you get to the end, you can just wait. And there's still another book. And you know what? I do want to try. I'm going to try it because I've read all 3 of them. So I'm going to give it a go, but not anytime soon. So that's the Broken series. That's the Broken series. I know that that's probably unpopular, but I really didn't like it. The next book that I read was Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This book is so good. Do not read it unless you check the triggers. Unless you check the triggers. And a lot of people say if you've read It Ends With Us and you like it, to read Long Shot. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Yes, it's the same themes, but this is so much more graphic. This is so much more graphic. So if you can handle it, then read it. I was not prepared. And there was a point in this book where I literally had to put it down because I thought I was going to be sick. It is so descriptive. It's so graphic. But you know what? It's such a good book. I gave this 5 stars. This story was amazing. It was written perfectly. And there's so much heart and so much soul in this book. And I absolutely loved it. But you know what? I did have moments where I had to put it down because I was like, this is too much. I need to read something a little bit fluffier, a little bit nicer, because I need to get away for a second. So I'm giving you that warning. I'm pre-warning you. So the tropes are emotional damage, sports romance, single mum, forbidden love, and DV rep. So DV is the trigger. If any of you find that triggering, don't read this. I'm telling you, don't read this. It is so graphic. But I'm warning you. I'm warning you. And the summary is, Iris thought her world was perfect. She had an interview for her dream job, a basketball boyfriend, and the whole world was at her feet, until it turned out her boyfriend was not what he seemed. Their whole relationship was fraud. And after a surprise pregnancy, she found herself stuck. All she could think about was the one night that she sat across the bar from August. So August is a basketball player who Iris meets on a night out. They're both watching sports together and they end up talking. They get to talking. They find themselves making friends. And they both pretty much build this connection, but it's in the background because she's got a boyfriend. She's got a boyfriend. She's happy. She's happy in a relationship until everything sort of comes crumbling apart. And everything really just does crumble. It really does. And it is so sad, so heartbreaking, so emotionally damaging. But you know what? At the end of the day, this book is so worth it. If you can handle it, please read it. I can't explain it. I think this book doesn't really need words because it speaks for itself. And even though it's long, it is so worth it. Next book that I read was Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. Guys, this was a real Laura Pavlov month, I'm telling you. This is her newest book in the Magnolia Falls series. So it's her newest book. It came out in January and I read it a couple days after it was released. And my oh my, this was good. This was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It was so worth it. I'm not going to say it again, but Laura Pavlov, she knows what she's doing. She absolutely knows what she's doing. We have small town, sports romance, enemies to lovers, no third act breakup, found family, and good girl, bad boy. So it's he's a boxer. That's how it's sports romance. To summarize, we have Romeo, who was the boxer from the wrong side of the tracks, and Demi, who's Magnolia Falls royalty. Her family was Romeo's #1 enemy. He despised her before he even met her. But when she moved in next door to him, everything changed. She was the right hook he never saw coming. This book is so good. I'm not gonna hop on about it, but I'm telling you now that their connection, just the angst, their connection growth, their character development was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I really loved this and I think you should all read it. If you love small town, I think you should read it. Just saying. And this is the first book in the series, so you don't have to read other books to get to it. It's the first one and it's a good way to start off. It's so easy to read. Her writing is so good and their chemistry is just insane. It's insane. The last 4 books that I read this month were all in the Landmark Mountains series. So this is a series by Willow Astor. We've got 4 books and I read them all one after another. These are the special edition covers. So there are people covers as well, but I think these are fucking stunning. So I got these ones. So let's go through them. I'm going to try and go really quick with this so that I can get through them quickly. But the first one is unforgettable. It is One Night Stand, Small Town, Workplace, Forced Proximity, Enemies to Lovers. It follows Scarlett, who's lost everything she's worked so hard to build, and one night she finds herself in a stranger's hotel room after one of the best nights of her life. It isn't until Jameson Ledger, the man she can't stop thinking about, shows up as the new owner of her family's hotel that she realizes she despises the man. But with the one night playing on a loop in her head, will she be able to get over the fact that he took everything from her? So good. I absolutely love this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really loved it. 4 stars. I actually gave all of these books 4 stars. So the whole series is a 4-star series. Just saying now because I'll forget to tell you later. The next one is Someday, and it is small town second chance, childhood friends to high school sweethearts, then to break up. Theo has loved Sophie for as long as he can remember. Their whole future was planned out until one day Sophie packs up and leaves with only a note. For 8 years, Theo has always wondered. When Sophie returns back to her small town after her father passes, she comes back with a lot of trauma and her love for Theo has never wavered. When the truth of why she left comes to light, will Theo be able to forgive her? I love this one so much. I am trying to think of like what my favorite in this series was, and I'd have to say that Someday is probably my favorite. I absolutely loved this book and I loved the characters. I love the story and I love the little subplots within it as well. The next one in the series is Irresistible. This is the 3rd one and it is single mom, small town, found family, enemies to lovers, he falls first, and workplace romance. Look, it's only mild enemies to lovers. It's not proper enemies to lovers, but it's still really good. It follows Marlo, who walks in on her husband cheating on her, and she decides to pack up all her belongings and her daughter and run away to Landmark Mountain. Wyatt is a successful doctor and his life is work. On Marlo's first day, she finds herself crashing into the back of Wyatt's car and cannot believe how unlucky she is. When Wyatt finds out Marlo's history, he helps to secure her a new job, but when they begin spending more and more time together, their feelings begin to grow. So Marlo is best friends with Sophie. So they're coming from the same place. She's come home and then she's following her best friend. That's how she finds herself in Landmark Mountain. My last book of the month. So my 20th book of the month was Falling by Willow Astor. These covers are absolutely stunning. I love them. I'm in love with them, and I can't wait to display them a little bit more. So Falling is small town, forced proximity, grumpy sunshine, no third act breakup. It follows Little Miss Ruby Sunshine and a grumpy rancher, Callum. They're forced to live together. Ruby is a runaway bride and finds herself broken down in the small town of Landmark Mountain and staying with a broody, grumpy rancher. The more time Ruby spends with Callum, she starts seeing cracks in his impenetrable exterior. Their connection is forged at the worst possible time. Will they survive it? This one was also really good. I found it hard to read at the start. It's probably my least favorite in the series, but I really liked the little subplots that came with it. This one was also 4 stars. It was leaning more towards a 3.5 until the end, like the back end of the book. And then the ending was really good. So it ended up being a 4 star. So if I was to rank them all, I'd probably go Someday is my favorite. Unforgettable is my second favorite. Irresistible is my third favorite. And then my least favorite is Falling, but you know what? They're all 4 stars. They're all 4 stars. So it was hard to sort of distinguish them, but I did love some more than others, and I loved some tropes more than others. So guys, that is it. Well, not that is it, but wow, that's it. 20 books this month, 20 books, and that was insane. That was a lot to get through. So if you've made it to the end of this video, I applaud you. I really do. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can see when I post videos. But I also want to hear how many books you guys read this month. So tell me down in the comments and I'll reply to you guys when I can. Alrighty, I'll see you next time. Bye.